Well, this is the way to talk about a mediocre movie. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu. This, of course, is directed by Jon Favareau. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, instead of doing a 4-season, we now have a movie. 3 seasons in a movie, I guess you could say. This is about 2 hours and 22 minutes. It's basically a side story about Mandalorian and his pal Grogu, who go on a quest to not only recover and basically take captive an Imperial warlord, but also retrieve Rotto the Hutt, who of course is the son of Jabba the Hutt, because of the twins who are the basically relatives of Jabba the Hutt. So he goes on a quest. Things do not go as they do, and this is basically trying to wrap up but also be a new telling story of the Mandalorian and his pal Grogu in the middle of about 5 to 6 years after, of course, the Return of the Jedi storyline, and it's basically a continuation of the Mandalorian in a lot of respects. And it's directed by, of course, Jon Favareau and co-written by Dave Filoni. Okay, so that's pretty much the story of the Mandalorian and Grogu. There's not really much to tell. You have Zeb in this movie. Sigourney Weaver pops up in this movie as a basically admiral fleet officer, I guess you could say, for the New Republic. It has Rotto the Hutt, which I believe was called Stinky in the Clone Wars, and it's a movie that is here because the company that is Disney refused to greenlight a 4-season to, of course, The Mandalorian. Now, I was not thrilled with the last 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I don't think they were that great, but they did have their moments. I think it actually wrapped up pretty nicely. The only things that it needed to do was give us some kind of story resolution for Grogu and some type of resolution for the Mando himself. And I was hoping maybe the Mandalorian Grogu in his 2 hours and 22 minutes of wisdom would actually develop that storyline and give us more kind of back history and more lore. And then I saw the trailers and I'm like, this may not be going very well. This may not be the thing I'm looking forward to. But Jon Favreau is a pretty decent director. He's proven himself. Yes, he did the Lion King live action remake, but he's also done Elf. He, of course, jump-started the MCU with Iron Man and so on and so forth. And it's a shame that this couldn't have been a 4 seasons. So that honestly leads me to my honest review of this movie. And as a huge Star Wars fan, as a individual who loves this property with all my heart, it just baffles me and kind of saddens me that this movie is so mediocre in its storytelling. It's so bad in its execution, and I don't know whether I should feel sorry for Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, because they really were put in a predicament, but they are the stewards. Especially Dave Filoni at this point is a steward of Star Wars, and what they presented here is not really a continuation of the Mandalorian story itself. It's just a side story. It's a side mission. It's like if you're playing a video game and you have the main quest going on, and then you go off and do this like other storyline and story arc, and in this sense is Rotto the Hutt and trying to basically capture him and return him back to this Hutt family. It just doesn't seem to understand or realize what it is, and therefore it just fails on all levels. I was so kind of I mean, I wasn't saying that I was not looking forward to this movie, but I was hoping that they would find a way to kind of really wrap up the Mandalorian Grogu story, because it is an interesting lone wolf and cub type story where you have this guy who has been through so much as a individual who's not a true Mandalorian, and you have this, really unique creature. I mean, yes, or unique alien. Yes, it's like Yoda, but Grogu is such a fascinating character, but they do nothing with it. All they do is, how can we sell more toys? How can we make Grogu the most adorable character ever to be put on screen? And it doesn't work. Like, this movie just doesn't really have any motivation to be anything more than a side story. Yes, the action is good. Yes, the visuals can be very good at times, bad at other times, which is crazy because John Knoll is the visual effects supervisor. But this movie I was just baffled by what I was watching. And on top of everything, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but the way it ends, the way it's trying to tell its story, it doesn't really serve a purpose. It really just kind of, this is what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni really had to work with, and they had to wrap up. If this movie is the last continuation or the last finality of this Mandalorian lore, then they've completely wasted any goodwill that they've had with this character. There's nothing to write home about. Like, the set pieces are pretty standard for a Mandalorian episode. They don't really add anything to it. You know, I thought the Mandalorian on TV looked quite good for what it's worth. You know, you have moments, and there's, you know, because it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, there's moments where you can see the steam, you can see the seams start to fall apart and start to kind of unravel. There's a whole 20 minutes of this movie with Grogu and, you know, kind of Din Djarin off to the side that is so weird, and just kind of, it's in a weird nutshell of like, this is, you're basically trying to sell me a product instead of selling me a movie. And I don't know. I mean, I know people enjoyed it. People were laughing, but I feel like if you're going to tell a good Star Wars movie, you got to have a decent ending, especially if you're trying to wrap up a 3-year long arc of a character. You got to do it better than this, to be fairly honest, because it's weird and goofy at some points when it shouldn't be. They also, you know, they focus on those aliens that are the ones that were introduced in Rise of Skywalker, the little mechanic aliens, which are fun. I mean, it is what it is, but you know, a lot of the set pieces are just, they're fine. They're fine, to be fairly honest. And I think if I want to give this movie some positives, I think Ludwig Göransson's score is fantastic. I think he, like Michael Giacchino, are doing levels of work that are making the masters and maestros of today's current culture when it comes to music for scores and music for movies. There's a point in this movie where they visit this new planet, and the score that Ludwig Göransson does for this particular planet is unique and interesting, and I think you got to give him all the credit in the world, because he gives what would be banality and boringness to a movie, and he gives it life, and he gives breathability into it, and it gives it interesting ideas. And other than that, like I said, you know, a lot of the stuff you see in the trailers, and it doesn't really add anything new, and it feels like 3 episodes of a TV series, and it just, I don't know. And then Martin Scorsese pops up in the movie, and I'm like, what is this? I didn't hate this movie, but I'm just baffled by, this is the product we got for a Mandalorian movie. I don't think it needed to happen. I think it could have been, you know, a worthy 4th season. I think that would have much liked it better than that, because, you know, on top of everything, you also have Rotto the Hutt, who's voiced by Jeremy Allen White, and I think he is fine, but he's going to be very mixed between people. Some people are going to hate him, some people are going to like him, because it's a different twist on the Hutt lore and the Hutts themselves. And for people out there that are wondering why the Hutts are speaking in English and why these characters, I mean, it's basically dumbing down for the audience these characters who never needed dumbing down to begin with. But for Star Wars, I mean, it just once again proves that they need a reset. Maybe Star Wars Starfighter, when it comes out in 2027, will be that, but it's not a terrible movie. It's like a 2.5 out of 5. It has great moments, but the action set pieces get tiresome. They get drawn out. The movie gets very long and very boring. It tries to have these great bombastic moments where it makes you cheer, and you don't really cheer. And yeah, it's a shame. Pedro Pascal is still good as the Mandalorian. I'll at least give you that. And I do think they waste Sigourney Weaver. Once again, it's a movie where they're trying to sell the Grogu product. And yeah, that's the way. This is the way that Disney wants to do it. And it's a shame. So there you go. But I hope you enjoy it, because, you know, it's you know, maybe you just need to turn your brain off. I don't know. But it's a side story for the Mandalorian and Grogu. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is my take on Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu. I do appreciate you watching. In the comments below, what is your ideas of The Mandalorian? Do you like it? Do you not like it? How do you feel about how it wrapped up in the 3rd season? Let me know if you're looking forward to this movie. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see in this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.